we're already up to Chapter 8. Hard to believe. About halfway's done with the semester. A number of you have placed your Project 1 into that final drop box. Over the weekend I had caught up with everybody. If some went in, last night, I may not have got caught up, but I was caught up with everybody reviewing them. Please go over, the feedback that I gave you if it wasn't perfect, and if I haven't given you a score yet for that final, then you've got some work to do. Please get that done. Just keep resubmitting it to the Dropbox. I will try to check that fairly regularly, so please try to get those in there, as quickly as you can. And we'll just keep plugging away. Don't give up is the main thing. And Project 1 is not completed until that projected balance sheet balances. Okay, that has to be done for you to actually end up getting a final score at least, and that's the biggest part of the score, is that final score for that project. So you got to keep at it until we get that balance, and we always do, as long as you're willing to stick with it. So Chapter 8, get into a little bit here. You guys have 4 or 5 problems. I'm hoping that I made the quiz pretty extensive, because actually there's quite a bit more information in this chapter than what we go over on the assignment. The assignments, I think, for this chapter, relatively easy. It's relatively short. I'm trying to get that to come up so we can have a look at it, and it's slowly doing that. So you got questions 1, 2, 4, 7, 8, and 18, and I say in 2 explain why, because 2 you could make a 50-50 guess. Okay, and when I say explain, that means that I would like you to show me your work. So if you're using Excel, which most of you are, then you can just show me your work. If you're using Word, a couple of you are doing that. Again, show me the work, show me the solution, show me the math, etc. So, okay, we'll bring up my spreadsheet and see if we can get started doing some things. The first one, failing to take a discount, and I just set up this. We've got the formula, and it's right from the book. The cost of failing to take a discount is just the discount percent divided by 100% minus the discount percent. We multiply that by 360. Again, kind of the days of the year that they've chosen, divided by the final due date minus the discount period. Okay, the discount period being that, that 10 days maybe, or whatever. And remember that those are expressed in things like, if I can get this thing to flop over, 210, this would be 210 net 60. 60 being my final due date, my discount period being 10 days then, right? So I'd have 360 minus, or divided by 60 minus 10, or 360 divided by 50, right? Okay. I set up one kind of lengthy formula here. I set this up. I don't know if this one has anything to do with any of the problems in the book, but I'll kind of show you what I did. As I first set it up on just a regular sheet, doesn't have any of the problem numbers on it or anything, and I said calculating the cash discount. I labeled everything. The discount percent is 2%, the discount period is 10 days, the final due date 60 days, percent due at final date's 100%, and my days of the year 360. And then I plugged in my formula, and this gets to be a little bit complicated, because you got to make sure you get all your parentheses and everything in the right place. So for me, I'd probably calculate this by hand, or write it out by hand, just to make sure that I got it right. And in this case, I think I do. But so my cost of failing to take the discount is equal to, here I'll just kind of redo it over here, right? So it's equal to, I use my equal to start my formula, my discount percent. Well, I know I'm going to need a parentheses, and I think I'm going to need 2. I'm just going to go ahead. So my discount percent divided by, maybe I only needed 1 because I've got another one coming, but I'll just plug that in. So it's divided by, in a percent, 100%. So that's 1. Okay, that's 1 right? That's how we enter that. Although I've got the final due and I've got 100% here, so I can click that. I can just say that it's my D5. If I were to use a number, it'd just be 1 minus my discount percent, which is again my 2%. So minus my 2%, and I got a parentheses around there. And I think I do need at least one more parentheses, but I think I got one extra. I'm going to take this one out. Okay, so I've got parentheses around that whole thing, so I think that's okay. And I'm going to take that and I put multiply, so times, using my asterisk, and I'm going to need parentheses 360 divided by final due date minus the discount period. So I'm going to again need another parenthesis, so my final due date minus my discount period, and 2 parentheses there, and I should be good. We'll see if it gives us the same answer as what I already have. Hit my enter. Yeah, it doesn't express it in the form of a percent, but I can sure change that pretty quickly, right? There we go. Okay, same percent, so that's how you do it. Now what's nice about this is then when we go to problem 1, and problem 1 just says compute these. And I've got different numbers than you guys have, okay? But here, I've already got my formula in there. I'm just going to come here. I'm going to highlight that, right click. I'm going to hit copy. Got her copied. I'm going to come over here, I'm going to plug her in, I'm going to right click and hit paste. Oh, cool. Okay, so now 310 net 60. Now all I have to do is plug things in right. And I just got to make sure that I plug these in correctly, that 3% is entered as 0.03. 10 is my discount period, 60. So I've got it all in there. Okay, so in that case my cost of not taking that would be equal to, I wonder if I can, the 22.2227, you know, and I could just copy that and do it. Okay, so you could do it like that. You could also, you could come down and there's one, you could just go, oops, you could go copy and paste again. What do I got? 4 of them up there, so I could go paste, and I could go paste, and then I could come and I could say this is equal to this one. Okay, my next one then is 210 net 90. So 0.02, 10's right, just change that to 90. My formula's already in there. 9.18, cool, equal to, and make that a color, 315 net 30. So if I come down to this one, 3% is what I have. 315 net 30. Okay, hit enter. Ooh, that doesn't seem right, does it? 315, 3% off if I pay in 15 days. You know, that's going to be a big number. Okay, and that's partly what I want you to do here, is be thinking of that. So I've got 3% off if I pay immediately. Otherwise I have to pay the full amount in 30 days. So there's only a 15-day difference there. So yeah, that doesn't surprise me that that would end up being a huge amount. And it sure looks like I have everything entered in there correctly. So, and as my computer freezes up, we'll try to get to the last one here, which is 210 net 60. So it's this one's just 0.02. 10 net 60, so 14.69. So this one's equal to my 74%. Wow, that's huge, isn't it? And this one's equal to my bottom one. Okay, and the idea here is kind of be thinking about these as you go through them, right? Your cost anytime, here's 310 net 60 versus 210 net 60. So, if I can save 3% up front, then my cost of not taking that discount should be bigger, right? Okay, and likewise, 210 net 90 versus 210 net 60. Okay, I see that the longer I could go before I had to pay the full amount, the less costly it is to miss out on the discount, right? And so in that case, I can say that, the shorter the net, the higher the cost is for doing that. And that's why when I kind of looked at this one first, I went, oh boy, that seems like a lot, and it is. But one, I got 3%, so it should be bigger. Okay, and two, I'm cutting way back in the time from the 90 to the 30, or from the 60 to the 30. Okay, plus I'm adding, a few days on this front end. I'm getting an extra 15 days, and so my difference here is only 15. It's 50 here, and so while that looked like a big number, wow, when I take a look at it, it looks like it's probably okay. And so be thinking about those as you do, and make sure that the answers that you come up with kind of make sense. If it looks a little out of whack, do some calculating. Maybe get out your pencil and paper and do it like that. So, okay, I think you guys have number 2, which is basically the same. And again, go ahead and do the work if you would, please. Okay. 3 is the Simmons Corp can borrow from the bank at 17% to take a cash discount. The terms of the cash discount are 1.5, so you get a 1.5% discount, 10. So can I do the same thing? Well, sure. And so I can copy, I can take any one of these formulas. Oops, got too much. Copy it. Paste it over here to my next so my discount percent is then just 0.015, right? 10 is right. My net would be in 45. And so the cost of not taking the discount is 15.66%. It's asking me for 3. It's saying I can borrow money from the bank at 17%. Well, should I borrow money then to pay for it ahead of time, or should I wait and just pay in the 45 days? In this case, I should wait, right? Because my cost of not taking the discount is only 15.66%. Right, because I'm only getting 1.5%, pay it in 10 days, for 35 days. So yeah, I'm better off going ahead and waiting and just paying this. Waiting and paying this in the 45 days. No, because it's costing me I got to rethink that. Back the train up here a little bit, right? Because the bank's going to charge me 17%. And my cost of not taking the discount is 15.66%. Now it's rattling in my head. I'm going to think about this for a second or two. Make sure I give you guys the right answer. Sometimes I confuse myself. Yeah, so I do not want to borrow money from the bank, right? Instead, I want to wait the 45 days. Presumably, I'll have enough money in my account then, from sales, receivables, whatever, in order to pay that, because it costs me 17%. So if I borrow in that 10 days, that's more than I'm paying the company that's giving me that discount. So in this case, I would not take the cash discount, and I would pay in the 45 days. So, sorry, I get myself rattled sometimes as well. Onward to number 5, which I think you guys have 7 and 8, if I'm not mistaken, and I think 5 is kind of similar to oops, I might be wrong about that. Let's look at number 5. It's just upon, oh, we got to calculate what's the effective rate of interest. Okay, and in this case we get an amount, we get an interest, we get the days and the days of the year. Okay, and so I put it in there, and I think, yeah, I did 5. You guys have number 6, I think, or I think you guys maybe have 4. Okay, and the effective rate is just at the top of that same page. So the top of 249, it gives you the formula. It's the interest divided by the principal. So interest divided by the principal times the days in the year, 360 divided by the days the loan is outstanding, right? So we can make this, let's make this into just 2 separate deals. So I've got my equal to my interest divided by my principal. What would that tell me? That would tell me that if I paid that $35 in a year, ooh, that's interesting, a false. Oh, because I got equals. Let's try that again. Equals this divided by this. I'm sorry. Okay. That would be my effective rate if I were to pay just $35 in a year. That would be my effective annual rate. But I'm paying it in 45 days. Okay. The second half of that equation then is my days in the year. So my 360, oops, hit my equals. My 360 divided by my number of days the loan is outstanding, which is 45. Okay. And then I multiply those two. Right? If I look at that formula, this is just equal to this one times this one. And I get about 11.2%. And that looks about right. Right? 35 bucks. You know, there's actually a number of ways that you could do this too. Okay. 45 days goes into, we know that it's, well, yeah, I'm not going to explain all the different ways. I probably just confuse you. When I was at the bank, I did this kind of calculation all the time, and I probably did it a different method every single time. Usually the way I would typically do it is I would calculate what my interest per day was. Okay. So if I paid $35 of interest over a 45-day period of time, I would calculate what my interest per day was, and then just multiply that by 365 or 360, whichever the case may be. So I always did it a little bit different, but use the formula in there so as not to get any more confused than what I'm already making you. So onward we go. You guys have to do number 7 and 8, which I think both deal with effective rates for a discounted loan. Okay, and what that's saying when we talk about discounted loans, and I guess you do 2 of these, unfortunately. We'll take a look, and I don't know of lenders that do discounted loans anymore, and so I'm kind of, that's why I'm not sure why we're spending a ton of time on it. It's certainly not something that we ever did as a lender. And what a discounted loan means is simply that you pay all the interest up front. So the interest for a year, say, is calculated, but you're paying the interest up front. And the reason folks don't typically do that anymore is because of the disclosure requirements on the Regulation Z under banking or any financial institutions. The disclosure requirements would require you to disclose the effective rate anyhow. Okay, and so the borrower is going to have an apples to apples comparison, and so you'd kind of look at it and say, why then would I go through the mechanics or whatever of calling something a discounted loan when my borrower just gets to compare it anyhow, and it just makes my life more complicated as a lender. So in the old days they did it because they were trying to pull the wool over somebody's eyes. So yeah. Okay. Well, here we go. Let's I'm going to insert a line here because what I want to do, I got my amount and I've got my interest rate, so I'm going to just plug in what my interest is, because that's going to be equal to my rate times my amount. So I don't want it to be a percent though. We'll just make that a number. Okay, and so now I think I've got ooh, does it tell me, yeah, my days, the loan outstanding, in this case is going to be 1 because it's 360, because it's for 1 year if I'm not mistaken. If I look at number 6, it says Soul Pine borrows $5,000 for 1 year at 13% interest. What is the effective rate of the interest if the loan is discounted? So this part of my equation is going to be 1, right? So I've got just interest divided by my principal minus my interest, so it's simply equal to my interest, right, divided by, I'm going to need a parentheses, my principal minus my interest in parentheses, and I should be able to hit enter. The heck did I goof up on there? B3, my interest divided by my B1 minus my B3. Well, let's just see. Oh, I didn't screw up at all. I just have to change it. Okay, so and that would be right. Okay, again, here's another thing to think about or think through, is that your interest rate is 13% here, but if you're paying all that interest up front, shouldn't your effective rate be higher? It should be. Okay, so in this case we come up with an answer that's about 2% higher, and that makes a lot of sense. Okay, now again, if the loan was outstanding for less than the 360 days, we'd have to do the second part of that equation, but for that question it wasn't. I want to take a look at your guys's, because I think your first one's pretty simple. It's Marriott is going to borrow $10,400 for 120 days, so you guys would have 120 over here, right? Okay, and pay $150 in interest. So in that case, you know, they're giving you the amount that you're borrowing. Okay, they're giving you the amount of interest that you're going to pay, and they're giving you the days that the loan is outstanding. And so it's a little bit different, right? And the way that you need to calculate it, though, is basically the same way. So should we do one maybe that's kind of like that? So let's just say we have an amount, and I can use the same numbers here, 5,000, right? But let's say my interest then is, instead of 650, we'll just say it's 200. Okay, and I'm going to have it outstanding. Days are, and we'll use, oh heck, let's use 180 days. Okay, let's move this out of the way. So again, I've got my interest divided by my principal minus my interest, so that's that part of the loan. So I can say this is equal to my interest divided by my, better use a parentheses, my principal minus my interest. Okay, and I'm going to take that times, and you know what, I'm probably going to need another set of parentheses around that, so I'll just do that. So times 360, which I'm just going to put in, and I probably should put a parentheses there too, divided by my days of my loan outstanding. Okay, so I've got half the year, so this part's gonna be 2, right? And this part up here gonna be whatever it works out to be. This would be the equivalent really of paying $400 of interest in a year. So yeah, I could make a rough guess probably about what my interest ought to be. Change that to a percent, and you could leave it as a decimal, that's fine. But okay, so I'd be doing one like your guys'. Now, I think you got to look at your number 8 though, because it says Dr. Ruth's going to borrow $5,000 to help write a book. The loan is for 1 year, and the money can either be borrowed at the prime rate or the LIBOR rate. Assume the prime rate is 11%, and the LIBOR is 1.5% less. So your LIBOR is 9.5% then, right? Also assume there's going to be a $45 transaction fee with LIBOR. This amount must be added to the interest cost with LIBOR. Which loan has the lower effective interest cost? Well, that's kind of interesting. Okay, that makes that a little bit difficult. I think the way that I would approach that is that just calculate the second one. Okay, you know what your interest cost, because this doesn't say that both loans are discounted, right? It does not say that both loans are discounted. Okay, and so what I would prefer that you do, and I'll see, I may have an argument with the book. I'll have to see what they put in for an answer, but what I would prefer that you do is just calculate then what's the effective rate of that $45 fee, right? What's the effective rate of that $45 fee? So you've got a $45 fee, you know, divided by your $5,000 minus the 45 times, and it's 1 year, right? Yep. So times 1, so really you can figure out what the effective rate of that $45 fee is and just add that to your 9.5%. And then you compare the two and see which one would be the cheaper then. Okay, that's how I would do it, because it does not say that each loan is discounted. Okay. Last question. You guys have, I think, 17. And I did 18, and this is the effective rate if we have different types of payments. And actually, when we get, I think, to the next chapter, we're gonna look at other ways to kind of calculate this. But in this case, we can use the, you know, this formula here, and that formula is available. It's earlier in the book, but boy, if you just look at page 248, I believe it is there. 248 towards the bottom where it says C, effective rate on an installment loan. Okay. And I've got it written out here though too, right? So it's just 2 times the annual number of payments times the interest divided by the total number of payments plus 1 times the principal. Yeah, okay. So what this is saying is that if we have this amount, 10.5, and during the full year we're going to pay $600, okay, of interest, what's my effective rate depending on the payments? Well, if I make just one payment, so I got $10,500 for the full year. Okay, at $10,000, you know, that'd be 6% interest. So I'm borrowing 10.5, so it's going to be a little less, right? And I'm going to do this just over here. So this is equal to my 2 times my annual number of payments times my interest. So I've got this is equal to, oops, I already got the equal, 2 times my number of payments, 1, right, times my interest, okay, divided by, oops, and I probably had better put some parentheses there. So divided by total number of payments plus 1. So I've got parentheses, my number of payments plus 1. Okay, parentheses, and I'm going to need an extra set of parentheses here, I just know it, times my principal. Okay, and I should get that, right? Effectively, what I'm doing here is I'm just doubling both of these for the annual one, so I'm saying that it's 1,200 divided by 21,000. And hit my enter, and hopefully it'll calculate us the same answer that we have here. Otherwise I've done something wrong. Oh golly. Well, it took a number out of there for me. I don't know why. There we go. Okay. And again, I probably should change that to a percent since that's what they're looking for, right? Okay. So now this one, 2 times the number of payments times the interest. So semi-annual means that I'm going to make 2 payments, right? And I got to think, right, that as my number of payments go up, that my effective rate's going to increase, because it's in effect kind of a discounted loan, right? I'm forced to pay both some of the principal and some of the interest back earlier, but over the course of the year I'm still going to pay a total of $600 in interest. So for this one then, again, we just have that it's equal to 2 times semi-annual means 2 times my interest, and I'm going to need parentheses around that. Okay, and that's divided by, and I'll need a couple of sets of parentheses, I think I did. Okay, 2, because that's my number of payments, plus 1. That's what the formula calls for, parentheses there, times my principal amount, and a parentheses. I think I'm good. Hit my enter and I should come up with the same answer, right? And I can do the same then. Quarterly is going to be 4 times and then 4 down here. Monthly is going to be 12 times and 12 down here. And obviously you should be able to come up with answers then. I think your guys' is similar. Your guys' was 17 if I'm not mistaken. Let me take a look. See if it's got anything that's kind of tricky. Your company plans to borrow $13 million for 12 months. Wow. Your banker gives you a stated rate of 24% interest. That's a mean banker in today's day and age. You would like to know the effective rate of interest for the following types of loans. Each of the following parts stands alone. So simple 24 interest with 10%. Oh God, you guys got to go back and calculate that old. Is that your guys' assignment? You guys got 17. Let me go back and check here. Because you guys have to calculate then what that means if you got to have a compensating balance. Oh, I'm sorry. You guys have 18. Yep. 18 is just like the one that I did. It's just that the amounts are different. So I didn't do any of the compensating balance ones simply because, again, we never required compensating balances. And I think that that's a technique or a practice from the past, and I don't think it's used too much anymore. So that should get you through there. Sorry I stuttered over the one, but hope you guys get it and have fun doing these. Next week, okay, again, we're finishing up the #1 project. I hope that most everybody's done, and next week then I'll start giving some instructions on project #2. So thanks, and I'll talk to you then.